Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I would do my October book haul. I got a ton of books in October. Kind of a weird outlier. I don't normally get this book, but I was actually sent a bunch of ARCs from Fierce Reads. And the way that they organize their, I guess, influencer marketing for their ARCs is they have these like set boxes that you can choose from, and a few of the books that I really wanted or that sounded super interesting were in this one particular box. And you submit your request for your top choice, and then if they have enough boxes left over or if you were quick enough, they are able to send you that box. So that's what happened to me. So I'm just going to show you everything that I got from them, but I will touch upon the ones that I was most interested in. So the first one was The King's Questioner, and this one is by Nikki Katz. And this one seems really interesting. This is actually one of the books I was interested in. I hadn't heard anything about it before they sent their PR information. And this is about a guy who is able to enter into the minds of other people, particularly their dreams. And through that, he is able to know their deepest, darkest desires, I guess, in a way. So he is the king's questioner, and so his job is to basically question prisoners, subjects, different things, all for the benefit and the good of the king. Now the prince, though, the king's son, has fallen very ill and has not been able to wake up, so he's kind of like in this coma. And so the king's questioner asks him to go into the prince's mind and see if he can do something. So he goes into the mind, and from there he realizes there are some certain royal secrets that maybe should have been kept secret, but he's able to see those, and then now he kind of uncovers this conspiracy that needs to be addressed. So that is what this book is about. This one comes out in January. I'm very excited. The next book is Oasis by Kadia de Becerra, I think is that how you pronounce it. This one sounds really cool. It's almost kind of like environment versus man versus something paranormal, I guess. So it's about a group of kids that are at an archaeological dig site. So one of the main characters' father runs the site, and so they kind of go and they're doing this excavation, and they run out of water, and so they are in the middle of this desert and they find an oasis. But the oasis is not all that it seems. I don't really know much about this book. Honestly, it kind of feels like maybe the oasis is not really there and it might be a mirage, or the oasis is there and there are some really weird supernatural spooky stuff happening. So it does say this is a new supernatural thriller, hides a mystery in plain sight, and will keep you guessing right up to its terrifying conclusion. So that one sounds really good. January as well. Now the next book is Black Girl Unlimited by Echo Brown, and I'm not sure if this is technically YA or if it's middle grade. I did see it from Macmillan's children's social media, which tends to run children's and middle grade books, and Fierce Reads tends to do just YA books. So I don't know, maybe it's crossing the line between the two. So the author is Echo Brown, but the main character's name is also Echo Brown, which by the way is an awesome name, I think. But I think it's kind of autobiographical, but it's still categorized as fiction. So this is magical realism, and if you know me, I'm not a huge fan of magical realism, just because I feel like I don't jive with the setting sometimes, and the writing style tends to be a bit more purple prosy. At least the ones I've read, I can always be proven wrong. This one is about a character named Echo Brown, who is living in the east side of Cleveland, and she ends up getting transferred to a really rich elite private school where the students are predominantly white. And the synopsis almost sounds like, she's a wizard, and the school is almost like this portal world where she goes in and the whole world is different, and she's kind of adjusting and trying to figure things out. It says it's heavily autobiographical, infused with magical realism. Black Girl Unlimited fiercely explores intersections of poverty, sexual violence, depression, racism, and sexism, all through the arc of a transcendent coming of age. So that little part right there is what's intriguing me the most. Again, I don't know how much of this is fantastical. It does seem like there is going to be some content warnings here, so if you are triggered by any of those things that I mentioned, then I would take note of that. So the main reason why I chose this box from Fierce Beast is because of this book, and it's The Shadows Between Us by Trisha Levenseller. And this one sounds so good because it's like, I don't want to say your typical YA fantasy, but it is, and I'm like so here for it. What also intrigues me is that the main character, who is a female protagonist, seems to be very morally gray, and I just love that, and I really hope they become like this villain couple. It's about this girl named Alessandra who is wanting to gain power, and she has this checklist plan. So one is to meet the Shadow King, woo him, marry him, and then kill him, and then take his kingdom for herself. I don't know what her motivations are. If it's like revenge, then I feel like that's kind of more like typical YA fantasy, but from the synopsis, it doesn't mention any other intention other than she's tired of being overlooked and she wants power. And I just think that sounds so interesting. And the Shadow King is able to command shadows to do his bidding, which honestly kind of reminds me of the Darkling, and that's another reason why I wanted to pick this book up, because I don't know, I feel like I'm pretty sure they're gonna fall in love. I feel like, because hello, it's a YA fantasy book, and I want them to fall in love, obviously, but it also reminds me of the Darkling from the Grishaverse, and kind of like, what if Alina had just turned to the dark side and claimed that power for herself and decided to be really powerful and rule with another powerful partner? And I really want that to happen in this book, so please don't disappoint me. I really hope you two are both villains and evil, because that's where my mind is going. This one, it comes out February. And then the next one is also coming out in February. It's If You Only Knew by Prena Pickett. And this one seems like a very heavy contemporary, even though the cover looks very lighthearted. I think it's about someone who comes out of jail and starts working for the female protagonist's father, and they kind of have this like angsty relationship where he's kind of like the bad boy, but he's kind of like wants to right his wrongs. She's like the good girl, but she's actually not so good. She has all these like hidden secrets, and it's kind of those kind of stories. So it sounds good, but I think I definitely need to be in the right mood. There's a lot of riding on motorcycles together, that kind of romance. Daniel Cross is the person who wrote The Shape of Water, and I have not read that book or watched the movie. But while I heard the book was even more disturbing, it just made more sense, like the characters' motivations and the romance that was in there. But I'm expecting some weird things to happen in this book too. It looks scary, and I'm a huge wuss, and I can't really read a lot of thriller books, but it just also seems very interesting. So the main character, Liv, her dad disappeared 2 years ago, and he had been claiming for years and years that he was abducted by aliens, and he would set out all these traps in the forest. But he's been gone for 2 years now. She kind of just considers him dead. And later on, I think she either finds an alien, or she makes contact, or she sees some very obvious signs that aliens do exist. And then she realizes that her dad was telling the truth. And if her dad was telling the truth, then where is he? So she desperately wants to find him and find answers. And so that is what Beth Heavens is about. And it comes out February. The next book is a historical fiction. It's 28 Days by David Safier, and it's called 28 Days, a novel of resistance in the Warsaw Ghetto. And this is historical fiction, and I love the cover, by the way. It's so pretty. So Mira has been smuggling food into the Warsaw Ghetto for her and her family to keep them alive for years, and basically the camp is going to be liquidated in 28 days. So it's the last chance effort that she has to kind of fight back. So she decides to join a resistance group that's in the ghetto to kind of last-ditch effort to gain freedom. There seems to be a love triangle as well. She's kind of stuck between two boys, one who is very angry and wants to take down as many Nazis as he can, the other one who seems to be a lot more just compassionate and caring and more concerned about the welfare of the people in the camp. So I think it's gonna be really good. I can't wait to read it. I will most likely read it next year. It comes out March 2020. And the next thing is the last book from Fierce Reads, which I will try to hurry up because I've been talking forever, is Late to the Party by Kelly Quinlivan. Oh my god, I cannot say her last name, and I've already practiced this so many times. Quinlan. So Cody and her friends are not really popular, but they're not like you know, the nerds or anything like that. They just kind of go about their business. That's high school, I guess. And finally, one day, her and her two best friends are like, why are we living like this? We see all these kids going to parties and having the time of their lives. Like, we should be doing that too. So they decide to stop watching Netflix, go engage with the outside world, and go to this party. So she goes there. She gets kind of separated from her friends, I think, and then she ends up stumbling upon two boys making out at this party, and she is shocked. And one of them is one of the popular kids, and he kind of freaks out because she saw him, and he is not out yet. So he decides to make a deal with her, and it doesn't seem like she's like blackmailing him or anything like that. She doesn't seem like that type of character, at least based on the synopsis, but I think he himself is just freaking out, and he wants to ensure that she's not going to say anything. So he makes a compromise with her, saying like, I will show you the ropes and I'll bring you into the popular crew if you will keep my secret a secret. So she agrees, which is shady in itself. She should just, I don't know. Anyway, so she agrees, and I think this is about like the rest of the year and how she kind of learns to be popular. I'm sure it's going to reveal a lot about herself, her friends, sexualities. It seems like it's just going to be a really good lesson for Cody, as well as Ricky as well, the main guy character as well. So Caden from BW Reviews on Instagram, he was doing a giveaway for the book Docile, which I am so hyped to read. This comes out next year, in March, and it's an adult speculative fiction, science fiction book, I guess. And it talks about capitalism, about the debt crisis, about free will, I guess, if you will. It is about sex and love and wealth and poverty, and it just sounds so freaking amazing. In this world, people who are in debt can essentially sell themselves to another family, another being, whoever has this money to afford them, and become a docile. So what a docile is just like your personal slave, your personal assistant that you can command to do whatever you want, and that means whatever you want. So Alicia, who is Alicia? I have a friend named Alicia, but I think I've heard Elisha too. Anyways, Alicia is poor. He's from like this rural place, and he has inherited his family's debt. So his mom has been a docile for a really long time, and she is still traumatized over being a docile, and he kind of takes on this family's debt and decides to be a docile himself. Now, the reason why being a docile works in this society is because dociles take this drug called dosaline, which makes them completely submissive. Now, as you can see, that's very, very, very problematic, but in this world, that's what happens. And he ends up becoming a docile to Alex, and Alex, his family, is the one that has created dosaline and manufactures it and distributes it. Basically, he is the owner of this massive empire. And I believe there is some kind of attraction between the two, but Alicia refuses to take dosaline because he sees the effects of it on his own family and in society, and he says, I will just be a docile to pay off this debt, but I'm not going to take dosaline. Alex is very adamant that he takes dosaline, and I don't know how things play out, but I think in the end, Alex does realize and sees how harmful this drug is to society, and kind of questions everything his family has worked towards. So this just sounds so good. Like, did I sell it to you? Hopefully, because this sounds amazing, and I cannot wait to read it. It comes out in March, so thank you so much, Caden. You seriously made the whole season for me for being able to send this my way. So while I had won that, he mentioned that he had a bunch of arcs that he didn't really know what to do with anymore, so he asked if I wanted any. So I chose two. One is called Unbroken. This is an anthology, and I actually don't really read anthologies very much. This already came out in 2018, September. But the topic was very personal to me, and I wanted to read about it. So this is about 13 stories starring disabled teens. Someone in my family is physically disabled, and she is not able to walk without crutches or a walker, and she has lived her whole life like this. So I see her struggling, and I think there's a lot more about the emotional impact a physical disability has on someone. And I wanted to read this and see if it's good, just to kind of understand her a little bit more. Now this anthology doesn't just cover only physical disabilities, but I think it is a big part of it. And I wanted to be able to just, you know, learn more about this. It's always good to read diverse books, and also if it is well written and if it is a really good anthology, I wanted to send it over to her, so hopefully it she sees a little bit of her life reflected in these stories, and I think that's really important for any reader. So 2 of the books I bought myself and 1 I was gifted. This one is Rainbow Rowell by, oh my god, I was gonna say Rainbow Rowell by Carry On. This is Wayward Son by Rainbow Rowell. This is the sequel to Carry On, and I got the Waterstones edition because it is gorgeous. It has different illustrations inside. Illustrations, so pretty, and it has sprayed edges that match Baz's suit, which I think is just genius. It is signed. I was very lucky to hop right onto Waterstones when they announced this edition, and the cover, naked cover, looks like this, and it's gorgeous, and I have not read it yet. So I was really, this is like one of my most anticipated reads, and I was so excited when it came out, but I just didn't have the time to read it. That's a lie. I did have time to read it. I didn't read it because she announced a 3rd book, and I'm really bad at series, and I just don't like waiting forever and ever. Plus, I heard that this one is a little bit sadder than Carry On, which I totally understand, and I was expecting, because Carry On ends kind of on a sad note as far as Simon's life goes now, because I don't want to ruin anything, but something happens, and so his life is forever changed, and he is grappling with what that means with his identity. So I kind of knew that there would be a lot of self-exploration, a lot of talk about depression, identity and purpose in Wayward Son, and I think that is what she delivered. It just means that it makes it for a slightly less funny, less charming read, I think, than Carry On. But, you know, I didn't know Wayward Son was gonna come out until when I finished Carry On, and I read that over and over and over again. So I think I just need to bite the bullet and read it, and if I love it, I can just keep rereading it until the next one comes out, right? Alright, the next book I got was The Beautiful by Renee Ahdieh. I had a digital arc of this from Penguin and Edelweiss, and so I was reading that earlier on, like in September, I think, but when Book of the Month YA was sending out their list of October books, I think, this was one of the books, so I chose this and as my book. So I transferred all of my tabs over, all the quotes that I had saved on my Kindle, and I absolutely love The Beautiful so much. I think it's such a difficult book to recommend someone because it has such a mixed reviews. Like, people love it or they were like horribly disappointed in it, and I totally see why people wouldn't like it, because it is very slow. There is not much action that happens. It's a lot of world building, a lot of atmospheric writing, creating this tension and this like almost lore behind this group, the Court of Lions, and where they came from, who they are, and Celine's role in all of this. So there's a lot of build up to it, and things don't really happen until the end of the book, and it ends amazing. And I think what people wanted in The Beautiful, they're gonna get in book 2, The Damned. The cover is gorgeous, by the way. So yeah, I don't know what else to say. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I can link my review down below. If I have reviews for any of these by the time this goes up, I will link it all down below. But yes, I loved it. I loved the writing, and this is my first Renee Ahdieh book I've read, and I think if you like her writing, if you've read The Wrath of the Dawn and you enjoy her writing, I think you'll love this one because it's just so atmospheric and beautiful and quotable, and it's just amazing. Or is The Ninth House, and I actually bought this from Waterstones edition as well because I'm not a huge fan of the main cover, but I feel like with this gradient design that Waterstones made, it just makes it a little bit more interesting. I have not read this, but it's beautiful, and I don't know if you saw that naked cover, but it's gorgeous. It has this like snake skin pattern on the side. So this is a story about Alex Stern, who has lived a very, very troublesome and traumatic life, but Yale decides to grant her admission, and because there are these secret societies in Yale, and I don't know if Yale grants her admission as like a student who is going to find out what's going on in these secret societies, or if she applies to Yale just as a student, and then from there she finds out there are secret societies. Regardless, there are secret societies, and she joins one of them, and they are not what is expected. I think there's a lot of paranormal things to it, a lot of magic. I honestly don't know anything about it. I'm trying to go into this book completely blind and not really know too much. So that's Ninth House. Next book is All the Stars and Teeth by Adeline Grace, and it has a beautiful cover. Look at that. I cannot wait until the finished cover. So this is a pirate book. Woo, fantasy pirates. I love it. So it's not just a pirate book, but it's also a fantasy book, and it's filled with magic. So in this world, I guess people get to choose what kind of magic that they want, and for her, she is a master of souls. Basically, she does soul magic, and I'm not sure exactly what that means, because that almost sounds like necromancy, but I don't think it is. And in her land, she is like the princess of this island kingdom, and she has to prove that she's worthy to rule by doing this kind of demonstration. And I think it's a demonstration about her power. But something goes wrong, and she ends up having to flee for her life. And she teams up with this mysterious pirate. And he agrees to help her, basically, and make sure the kingdom can see that she's fit to rule if she will help him recover his magic that was stolen. And as they're traveling through this kingdom, I'm not exactly sure what they're doing, but as they're traveling through this kingdom, they start to see new threats coming, new magical threats, and I think they work to fight those. And so now has a double purpose of proving that she's worth being the leader of this kingdom and protecting this kingdom. So I think there's probably some kind of romance. I love pirate books because they usually have a really good cast of characters in the crew. And so I am hoping it's going to be really amazing. So this one comes out in February. And that is the end of this book haul. And I can't believe it's been over 30 minutes. So let's see how long I can narrow this down, because I rambled way too much. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!